Alrighty. Well, I have started the recording, so if you want to make brief introductions, and then we'll get right into it.
Okay, I'm Jamie Kuntz, acupuncturist, and this is Kendall Lang here with us, and he's going to be giving us a webinar explaining SEO, SEM, and SMO, the differences between these, and basically just tips on how we can start getting more patients online. So by being found in search engines and by being found in social media.
Excellent. Well, thanks, Jamie. And I wanted to kind of lay a little bit of additional foundation. First of all, just kind of cover an administrative scenario that for those that are with us today, we are recording. So there will be a video archive of this that will be available that you can review later. So if you don't want to take notes, that's perfectly fine. You can re-watch this at any time down the road. And for those who didn't make it, who tried to make it today, I understand just before a holiday, it's can be a challenge for scheduling. So I want to wish everybody a happy 4th of July and have a safe and happy celebration this weekend. So I really appreciate the investment of time that you have given, and I want to honor the time and get through as much as we can here in a short period of time. I have about a 50-minute presentation and some time for questions and answers. My goal is to make this a pure content webinar. So the idea is you're not going to be pitched. You're not going to be asked to buy anything. This is purely information that you're going to be equipped with specific ideas, tips, and tools that you can go implement today and change your outcomes tomorrow. We're going to do a number of exercises to show you how to do some of these things or the places that you go to deal with that. But really what we're talking about here is a digital marketing strategy. So as Jamie mentioned, this is going to be all about search engine marketing, or SEM, search engine optimization, or SEO, and social media optimization, or SMO. Now, at the end of the day, I'm going to try and do a lot here in an hour, and I'm going to do a brain dump of information. It's going to seem overwhelming. You may feel like you're Alice in Wonderland going down the rabbit hole. Again, this is going to be recorded. There will be a video replay of this, so you'll be able to listen and watch the video because it is going to be chock full of content, and you may not catch all of it the first time through. So we're going to cover top 10 tips for effective social media marketing. I'm going to talk about the top 9 must-know issues for on-site or on-page search engine optimization. And these are direct things you can do on your website. I'm going to talk about the top 8 points when evaluating vendors. How do you choose someone to help you if you decide to go that route? Everything that I'm talking about here today, you can learn and can do it yourself. So for those do-it-yourselfers in the audience, more power to you. If you do decide to evaluate a vendor and bring somebody in to assist you, how do you evaluate them? How do you know whether they know what they're doing? Then we're going to talk about the top 7 metrics to know about your marketing. What are the important things to have a gauge on? How do you know whether you're achieving your goals? What are the metrics that you should be tracking, and what do those pieces of data mean? And how do you make informed decisions about them? So we'll be talking about that. And then the last thing is going to be the top 6 solutions that you can implement right now. So the goal is pretty ambitious, and I'm going to plow right through it here. First, I want to kind of give you a quick glimpse into some credentials. Why am I the expert? What gives me the ability to share this information with you? Well, unlike your industry, where you've got 4 years of undergraduate school, 4 years of specialty training in some cases, doctorate degrees, you might have ongoing, continuing education. You may have gone abroad to study for your specialty. You're licensed by the state. Unfortunately, this industry does not have those kind of credentials. So anybody who knows 3 or more acronyms than they're the expert. And you've probably all heard it, or you may have experienced it yourself. You've got a whiz kid computer nephew of your brother, and they take over your website, and you have no idea what's going on, and you may or may not get the results. Well, what we try and do is say, look, we will show you real-time results of our clients, and I want to point out an actual acupuncture client of ours, which is called AcuHeart Integrative Acupuncture, which is in Del Mar, California, which is where we're located. And this is an actual search result from Google. So you could right now on your computer go to Google, type in acupuncture in Del Mar. This is the exact page that you would get, and we've highlighted in green here our client, which is the number 3 local places listing. And this is really the evidence to say, okay, we walk the talk, we do what we say, and we get the results for our clients. So this is just an example of, I'm going to give you specific elements of evidence about what we've done with this client, that if you do it yourself and you follow these examples, you can have the same kind of results. So if you want to rank in the first page of Google for acupuncture in insert your city name here, we're going to give you that information today. Now, farther down on the same page, just because I couldn't all get it all in one screenshot, is their actual organic listing. And it's actually listed number 9 in number 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 down in the, so you can see the Google map places listed up there with a gray balloon C, which is in the red balloon in the map in the upper right corner. And then if you go 1, 2, 3, 4 down, you see the actual website listing in addition to their Google Places listing. So actually in the top 10 for acupuncture in Del Mar, you're seeing 2 different results showing up for this client. Now there's some elements that we'll talk about as we dig in a little bit deeper, but I wanted to start off and say, okay, here's an example of what we've done for a client. This information works, here's evidence of it, and you can go verify this independently yourself. So you could go real time and do the very same thing. So at the end of the day, everything that we do for our clients and everything you focus on in your digital marketing strategy should be around the question, answering the question, can new patient prospects or new visitors find your website? Right? Back in 1991, when I first bought WorldClass.com, there was 3,000 servers on the entire World Wide Web. That was a long time ago, seems like ages ago, and it really was build it and they would come. It was so novel, it was so unique, there were so many limited options, you didn't have to worry about it. Today's world, it's not the case. You can't just build it and they will come. They don't come. You have to be found, and we're going to talk about how that happens and why that's important. Now, another question is someone Googling you right now? Are there seekers or are there prospective patients who have a felt need that are describing that felt need as neck pain, back pain, sinus problem, sleep apnea? Whatever the issue is somebody Googling you for the services that you offer that you're not branded for or you're not showing up with. So that's a really important thing to understand. And it's not just about your name, because they may not know your name. And we're going to talk about this in terms of keywords. What's really important is to understand what those prospective patients with their felt need are using to describe their felt need. That's where you need to show up. So the question is, yeah, there's lots of patients out there Googling the felt need, but are they finding you is the question. Now, what started with, and I'm going to pause for just a second. So, Jamie, I just want to check in and make sure you're hearing me okay. Everybody's checked in and listening okay. You tracking with all this? Okay. And you can interrupt at any time if you've got questions. You want me to stop or slow down or ask questions, please feel free. Okay, so even as recently as 10 years ago, even as recently as 7 years ago, back in 2007, right, or 2006, what started with MySpace as the first social media site to eclipse 100 million members, that was a big deal back then. And they were the up-and-coming, raging new success in social media. You also had YouTube, which was the do-it-yourself publication for video. You had Google emerging as the 800-pound gorilla in search. Well, what started with that as a fairly well-defined and emerging industry has now turned into something that is unbelievably complex. There are literally over 1,000 social media sites that we're tracking, and 350 of those have more than 1 million members in them. Okay, so if you look at the recent statistics for Facebook, people would argue that they've got 750 million members. Whether that's true or not is not really the point. It's a lot of people. And it's a huge audience that has a lot of eyeballs, a lot of buying potential. And so the question is, if you're on Facebook, most people don't know in the upper right corner here, you see a logo for Bebo, B-E-B-O. You may have never even heard of that before. but it is the Western European equivalent of Facebook. So with 50, 70 million members in that audience, why wouldn't you want your message targeted there as well? So the idea is it's gotten to be hundreds of social media sites, and it really has become complex. Now, why are we talking about digital marketing? Well, search engines now account for over 85% of all new visitors to a website. Okay, that is monumental. That is a huge deal. You have to understand that the world has turned digital. And just think about your own experience. Think about, when's the last time that you used a Yellow Pages? Have you used a Yellow Pages in the last year, last 3 years, last 5 years? What's the way that you personally find information when you're looking for something? Okay, I know I Google it. So if that's your personal experience, you got to believe that the rest of your prospective patients are doing the same thing. Now, when they do a search, the survey also says only 7% of those users are going to go beyond the first 20 listings of a search engine. That means the first 2 pages. That means if you're not found on those first 2 pages, you may as well go home, because you're not going to be found. So the idea is that people would rather switch to a different search engine or change their keyword search than to browse beyond the first 20 positions of a Google search result. Understanding that dynamic helps you understand how competitive and how technical you have to become in order to achieve ranking in the first, second, or third pages of Google. So we're going to talk about some of that. Now, why a digital marketing strategy matters. It's really important to, and I'm going to emphasize this with another study that was done by Forrester Research Report, outlining how people find information, products, and services primarily through websites. The number one way by far is search engines. Over 87% of people find goods or products through the use of a search engine. Now, you can see the others actually drive traffic. So yeah, you could do a mail ad, you could do radio, you can do banner ads, you can do a vendor catalog. All of those will have an impact. But if you're not focusing on the number one arrow in the quiver of marketing that can generate the highest return on your investment, you ought to be looking at your overall marketing strategy and addressing this, because you're missing the biggest part of how new patients are searching for your services. So it matters. And having a digital marketing strategy, this graphic outlines why it matters. Now, just another quick graphic. This is another study done by Pew that shows how consumers find local business even more emphatic. 90% of consumers looking for local businesses, whether it's a restaurant, whether it's acupuncture, whether it's tires, whether it's mufflers, whatever the issue is, 90% of consumers are using search engines to get connected with local businesses. So it's a really important thing, and again, it may seem like I'm pounding on this issue, but it's really important to understand. Now, what's all the fuss about social media? Well, why is social media essential to your success? 3 years ago, people didn't understand this, but for the first time in their history, Pepsi did no television marketing during the Super Bowl. They invested 100% of their entire budget for the Super Bowl in social media. Okay, that's a big deal. There is a tectonic shift going on in the digital world, and social media is as big an impact to the internet world as the fax was to the telecommunications world. If you look at all the major industrial shifts throughout the history of time, from the Gutenberg printing of the Bible to the telephone to the internet itself, social media is as big in terms of what's happening, and you need to understand what's going on, because it does affect your overall digital marketing and your search engine optimization. So just one quick graphic to talk about, the type of social media. There's a whole bunch of different ways that this word social media is being thrown around. And this graphic just kind of outlines the major categories of the different types of social media. So there's, social PR, events and meetups, there's virtual worlds, there's wikis, there's bookmarking, there's microblogging, there's video sharing, photo sharing, and there's a different social media, hundreds of social media sites in each one of these categories. So understanding all of this can be pretty overwhelming when you think about, how do I deal with this, or what do I do, to get into all of this? How do I get my message out to all of this audience? And we're going to talk about some of those strategies. Now, whenever you're talking about a strategy, you have to have an approach. And if you're familiar through your training, you were probably exposed to Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And this really is the same here, where we're talking about, SEO strategies leading to success. And it starts with, some fundamentals of, you got to be committed to this. This is not something that you're going to get rich quick. You have to have a strategy. You have to plan it out. You have to plan the work, and you have to work the plan. So, and that takes commitment. So you're going to have to persevere. Either you're going to have to decide that you're going to learn it and do it yourself, or you're going to have to commit to finding the person that can help you do this and do it the right way. So it takes planning, it takes education. You got to have patience. And as you go up this pyramid, you're going to have to look at all the things that are foundational as building blocks to create this digital marketing strategy. So right in the middle of those is keyword research. We're going to talk in some detail about keywords and how important that is. Having analytics. How do you know if you're achieving the goal or not? The tools. What tools are available to you that you can implement and easily use to help you achieve the desired result? So as you go up that ladder all the way up to the very top, the bottom line is all of this is designed to help you build a relationship, a virtual relationship with your target audience. In this case, what you're trying to accomplish is building trust, building that trust relationship with prospective patients to move them into a buying relationship with you. Okay, so Jamie, I'm going to pause for just a second and see if anybody has any questions. Good so far?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay. So this next slide talks about search engine optimization process. And the very top is the initial analysis. I'm going to run through this fairly quickly, but each of these has a purpose and a function. And if you bypass it, you're not going to get the desired result. So the first thing we talk about is the initial analysis. And this is, what's the state of your digital world? Is your website SEO compliant? Do you understand who your target audience is? Have you researched how many people in your marketplace are candidates for your services? Do you know who the competition is? So those are all things that you need to have up front in terms of your analysis. And then that leads you into the second point here, which is really the keyword research and analysis of, if you understand who your target market is, then you need to understand what are the pain points or the felt needs that they are experiencing. And most importantly, how do they describe their felt need when they show up at a search engine and put that into the search engine? What words are they using? What phrases are they typing in that express their pain point or felt need? That helps you build the list of keywords, and we'll talk about some tools and places you can go to find keywords. Competitor analysis. I'm super competitive. I like to know what's going on in the marketplace. I like to know who are the players, and I like to win. Really understanding who your competitors are can make you better in terms of understanding what you have to do in order to get ahead of your competitors in what you're doing. So I'm sure if you typed in, acupuncturist in, put your city in the blank there, that you'll come up with a list of at least the 3 or 4 top competitors that were like, gosh, if I have to show up at another Christmas party and hear that guy bragging about he's #1 on Google, I'm going to throttle him. Well, you can fix that. You can change that. So, but understanding who your competitors are, success leaves clues, things that you can research and discover about the things that they're doing right. Definitely something you want to have on your radar screen. Number 4, sitemap and RSS feed inclusion. Really understanding, what is my website made up of? Really, is my content built to accommodate the needs that my target audience is looking for? In other words, am I educating, inspiring, and engaging the target audience with the content that I'm delivering? So if you use that simple 3-word guidance to say, educate, inspire, and engage, and if you gauge everything on your website by that, are you educating the patient about what the potential solutions are for the pains that they're dealing with? Are you inspiring them that you're the subject matter expert to solve their problem? And are you engaging them, giving them a call to action that says, hey, I've educated you, inspired you, I'm the right person, call me. If you don't have a very clear call to action that comes from your content, the website isn't going to achieve its purpose. Now, after you've got all that in place, then you have to focus on search engines. There are directory submission services. You can go to directories yourself. You can pay third-party providers to do the directory submissions. But however you decide to do it, you need to have your website and your URL constantly updated, constantly submitted to search engines. Now, the best way to do it, and I'm going to talk about this in some more detail at a later slide, is through Google Webmaster Tools. If you don't have a Google Webmaster Tools account, you need to get one. And I'm going to talk about how to do that and all the processes. But basically, through that tool, you are able to submit a sitemap file that I'll talk about, and that helps you get indexed by Google, which is the #1 search engine in the world. Social bookmarking, having a strategy for dealing with social activities, which includes Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, LinkedIn, and hundreds of other ones. And we'll talk about social bookmarking compared to blogging versus press release versus articles. All of those in 6, 7, and 8 are kind of blended into what most people are talking about in terms of a social media strategy. And we'll talk about what those are and how to maximize your efforts in that regard. Link popularity. There's been a huge amount of conversation and dialogue around linking, but you need to research and understand, if you're going to do this yourself, you need to understand that there are on-site linking, internal linking, cross-page linking, off-site linking, and backlinking from other sites. So there's a variety of different types of links that all impact your ultimate ranking on Google for various keywords. So we're going to talk about linking and what that means, and really understanding how to maximize your link strategies. Now, the last thing in this loop is the SERP, or Search Engine Result Page Report. Part of making sure that you've got a digital strategy that's working is actually having the data and having the reports to give you the evidence to say, yes, this is working, and I can see my website visitor traffic is increasing, I can see the keywords are being effective, but having some kind of analytics that allow you to see what's happening and allow you to make more informed decisions, more well-informed decisions, and that's really this report function. So we're going to talk about that as well. Now, typically, we try and guide you as a potential client into kind of structuring your account into kind of big blocks. And we look at it in this kind of diagram or flowchart scenario. So www.yourbusiness.com. You should have a search engine optimization strategy, you should have a social media strategy, and you should have an infomercial / video production strategy. Now, it doesn't have to be obviously broadcast on television. Infomercials can be done through webisodes and through YouTube and other video sharing channels, and that's really video production, which is a very powerful tool. Now, underneath the SEO on the left-hand side of the screen, there are on-site factors, also called on-page optimization, and there are off-site factors or off-page promotion. In addition to those two parts of the actual website factors, you can also add in email campaign management and digital advertising pay-per-click. So any questions? Jamie, can you hear me okay right now? Just want to confirm that everybody's still with me.
Yeah, I can hear you fine.
Okay, great. Now, one of the things that Google is very clear about, and there's been a variety of changes over the last year. You've seen 3 major introductions to the changes in the Google algorithm that you might have heard about, or you might have read about, or you might have researched, and that includes the Panda change, the Penguin change, and the Hilltop algorithm, as well as the Hummingbird change. So everything that they're doing is trying to increase the relevancy of content to their target seekers. So they want to match people's needs as relevant as possible to the service providers that are providing that information. So Matt Cutts is kind of the go-to expert. And one of his quotes here is, the objective is not to make your links appear natural. The objective is that your links are natural. Now that comment also applies to content. So it's not just links, but it's also content. So the big changes now are really focusing on natural content that is relevant to the target audience, and they're actually penalizing websites for over optimizing and over SEOing and over structuring the content for keywords and not being natural. So, when you're talking about all the possible search engines, let's talk about Google for just a minute in terms of what is Google up to. Well, some people say that they're trying to rule the world, but the reality is that they're an 800-pound gorilla, and if you want to have an impact and be showing up in search engines where users are searching, you got to be on Google. So what are all the things that they're doing? Well, if you start with a Google Gmail account, it's a free account. Email, you're probably familiar with it. You probably have an account there. If you don't, you need to get one. I would suggest that you get one in the name of your business. So acuheartindelmar@gmail.com. Just an example of a business name that you could get a specific Gmail account in the name of the business. That Gmail account is becoming the linchpin to all of the places where they are going to integrate services for you across the Google sphere. That includes setting up your Google Places, which is now your Google Maps, your Google Local, and your business account is now associated with that Gmail account. And if you don't know how to do that, there's a specific instructions. You can actually Google the question, how do I tie my Gmail account to my business account? Or how do I claim my business account? So there's a specific strategy around that. Now, there's also Google Webmaster Tools. This is what I was referencing before. You have to go to google.com/tools, Webmaster Tools, and it will log you in using the Gmail account and set you up with a specific Webmaster Tools account. There's some very valuable things that it does, not the least of which is that's the place where you will go to submit your index file for the website. So if you don't have what's called a sitemap.xml file, this is the place where you're going to use their submission and add that sitemap to the Webmaster Tools. So let me break out of here real quickly and I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about. So if you go to, I'm going to go to New Teeth One Day and go to sitemap. So every website should have, and this is Google's recommendation, an individual file at the root level called sitemap.xml. If you don't have one, if you can't type in sitemap.xml after your root name of your website and find a file that looks essentially like this, then you need to go create one. And there are plenty of free, there's WordPress plugins, there's Google Sitemap Generator plugins, there's free sites where you can generate the sitemap.xml. So it's not a problem, but a lot of people don't even know that they're supposed to have it. Again, this is something you can do today. You can Google, free sitemap.xml creator, link to the site, put in your URL, it'll generate the file, you can load it to your website, and boom, there you go. You've got your sitemap on there. Now, when you're done with that, then you can go to Google Webmaster Tools. So you can see the URL right here, Webmaster Tools after google.com. It'll take you right into Webmaster Tools, and you can add your site and go through listing all that information, and then it will create a profile, and you'll be able to do all kinds of activity on any of these. Now I've got a whole bunch here because we're listing a whole bunch of clients, but if you come in here and click on a particular website, it tells you a bunch of information, any messages, the search appearance, talks about data highlighting, what your HTML improvements might be. It talks about your site links. It can give you search traffic, so it can tell you how many search queries you've had. So out of 2,827 impressions, this shows you all the keywords that were used by people to find that website. So you can see here that acupuncture in California had this many impressions, this many clicks, average position. So it's a lot of valuable information. And then you can also look at links to your site. So you can see total number of links, where it's coming from, and drill down into some detail. So it's a very valuable site. You can also, this is where you go to the index status and see how many pages are indexed, and you can submit your index to this as well. So this is where you do all of that information. So I just wanted to break out of the presentation and go there for a second. Now, so in addition to the Webmaster Tools, there's Google Analytics. Same scenario as Webmaster Tools. If you don't have an analytics account now, you're going to want to create one. When you go out to Google Analytics, you'll come to this page, something like this. You'll be able to create new, and you can configure the website. It'll allow you to create an account for your website. You can go in and do property settings, configure it all right here. You can establish and find the tracking code, and that's basically this code right here that you then place on your website in the header section of every page, and it will allow you to then track the information for that specific website. And again, this may be getting too technical for some of you, but it is something that you can learn. It's all stuff that you can do yourself. And so having this analytical tool is really, really important. So if we go back to, let me just show, again, this is for AccuHeart, and so this is the type of information that you should be able to see. I'm going to drill into this for just a little bit since we're talking about Google Analytics. So you can see up here that this is for AccuHeart.com. This is the date that we're looking at, so it's the last 30 days from June 2 to July 2. And there's a variety of options down the left-hand side where I can look at the overview of the audience, which is what I'm looking at right here. So I can see on a daily basis the number of visitors that have come to the site, and I can see spikes in traffic, and these are actually related to specific activities we've been doing from a marketing standpoint. And so you can see the total number of visitors to the website. You can see how many users were unique, how many page views that they had, how long they were on the website. And some really good information. And you can drill down into, a whole bunch of information about mobile devices, how many were desktop versus mobile versus tablet. And this tells you, hey, if you don't have a mobile site, you're probably going to want to address one, because we're seeing between mobile and tablet, between 30 and 40% of website visitors now are using a mobile device. So if you don't have a .mobi website that's specific for mobile users, you're going to probably want to figure that out in the near future. Some of the other demographics that you can look at are whether it's coming from organic search, direct URL, social activity, referrals, and the rest. And it gives you some really good information to see, where your marketing efforts are paying off. You can look at all the traffic coming in. It has a referring source, and so you can identify that originating source here. So you can see Google Organic was by and large the #1 generator. The direct or none means that people have their privacy set and security set so that you don't know where they're coming from. Doesn't mean that they didn't do Google or something else. It's just that they wanted privacy and you can't determine that. So then you can see Facebook, different referrals coming from the source. Yelp is another big one, Yahoo, and Bing. So it gives you a lot of valuable information, and you can drill it all the way down to keywords. You can look at, what are the specific keywords. And again, here's the top 10 that show you Del Mar acupuncture and how many people come by each of those keywords. So pretty valuable information. So Jamie, any questions on that? Let me just pause for a second.
I don't have any questions.
Okay. Now, I'm not going to go into more detail on the rest of these. I'm just going to point out that, Google Hangouts is something you're going to want to learn about. Google AdWords, there's a really important tool inside of AdWords. You can create an account free in AdWords, and inside there is a tool called the keyword tool, and that helps you identify keywords and how many people are searching for those keywords. So it helps you select the keywords that you want to focus on. So that's a very valuable tool. AdSense is if you want to create ads on your website and be paid for advertising. You can do that. Typically, businesses of this kind typically don't have the kind of volume that would make it economically justifiable, but you can certainly, consider that. Google reviews is really, really important. Every patient that you see, you're going to want to encourage them to give you a review. If you can get them to sign in with their Google Gmail account and produce a review on your website, that's incredibly valuable. It has a lot of power in terms of impacting your search engine ranking. So if you can, we even encourage all of our healthcare practitioners to actually create a letter that's part of the exit strategy or the exit process for the patients, where they're actually given the URL of your Google profile and asked to please, when you get home, log into your computer, use your account, and give us a review. It's really, really important. Another item that you should look at and learn about is Google Author, being Google authorship. That's another specific strategy that you can learn about. You can implement it yourself, and it does impact search engine optimization. And let me show you what I mean by that. So if I go to acupuncture in Del Mar, well, they've got it turned off on this page. Let's try. Okay, of course now when I'm trying to display it, it's not happening. So bear with me just a second. Okay, so this is an example. So if you go dental implants in New York, so you can see in the live Google results, there's about 1,630,000 results. And what that means is that there's 1,630,000 pages of content that have been indexed by Google for that keyword, dental implants in New York. So all of these up at the top are ads, and they're denoted by this ad feature, the ad button, and all of the ones on the right-hand side are also ads. That means that somebody has paid on a per-click basis anywhere from $12 to $28. So if I clicked on this ad right here, it would cost this company, $18 to $28 just for me having clicked on that. Now, organic results start here. So this is what's called natural or organic results. Then you have anything with the balloons associated with the map in the upper right-hand corner. These are the local places listings, or the Google Places or Google Maps or Google Profile listings of different businesses. Now, as you scroll down, these become organic again. And what I wanted to show you is two examples of the Google authorship. Now, you see all of these other results don't have a picture beside the result. Well, in this Google profile, you have this logo of the business, and Malo Advanced Oral Rehabilitation is a client of ours that we've worked with for 3+ years. And this is actually the profile for Dr. Stephen Moss, who is a partner at Malo. So out of the top 10 for organic results, out of 1.63 million pages of content, 2 of our clients are the only ones listed with Google authorship showing the picture. Now, Google has shown that if you have a picture by your search results, it increases the probability of somebody clicking on it by almost 20%. So these listings with pictures are much more likely to be clicked on by a browser who finds themselves at this page than any of these other listings that don't have a picture beside it. So that is, in essence, Google authorship. That's why it's important, and you'll want to learn how to implement your own Google authorship, and it is associated with your Google Plus profile. So that gets to the last point, which is your G Plus profile. If you don't have one, you need to create one, and you need to understand how to optimize your profile. There are specific things that you can do to do that. And again, if you want to look at this as an example, you can go to this profile for Dr. Moss and learn, how he's gotten 100,000 views, on his profile and what he's done and what we've done for him to configure this profile. And there's a lot of examples of that. You can find competitors of yours that have probably done theirs as well. So you'll definitely want to focus on that because your Google profile is used for a lot of things, and you want to make sure that you pick the keywords very carefully. Now, the final thing about what's going on with Google is that they, as I'm sure you're aware, several years back, they acquired YouTube. So they are very integrated. So your Gmail account now can also be linked to your YouTube channel, and it can be used for subscriptions and for linking in and for optimizing and impacting your website ranking as well. So having your YouTube channel connected with your business profile and loading video in your YouTube channel can have a huge impact on your website because video is very, very powerful in terms of impacting search engine optimization. Okay, so that's the last point. Jamie, I'm going to pause for a second, see if there's any questions on what's up with Google.
I don't think I have any questions, but does anyone else on the call, on the webinar, have any?
And you can also, if you don't want to speak up or talk on the phone, you don't have to unmute yourself. You can also type in the questions in the control panel. You can type in questions or you can type it in the chat, either one, and Jamie's going to be looking at that. I think, Jamie, are you able to see that now?
Goodness, I'm actually not able to see it.
Okay, no worries. I'll check it periodically and it'll give me a message here if anybody types in a question. So if you do have any questions, please feel free to type it into the questions dialog box or do it in the chat section. Okay, so we are at the 42-minute mark, so I'm going to try and plow through the rest of this pretty quickly here. Now, so when we talk about why Google matters, I gave you the example of Malo dental implants, and we talked about dental care. So I'm going to use this keyword dental care New York City or NYC. Again, here's, in order to achieve a first page ranking, it means if you've got, like in the listing that we showed before, it's 1.6 million. In this case, there's 12 million pages of content that are indexed. That means that you have to be better than 11,999,990 competitors in order to get on the first page. Now, how you do that is going to be a combination of your natural organic website. It could be through pay-per-click advertising, or it could be through the local places. So I wanted to just highlight on this page what local places is and why it matters, and why you're going to want to focus on your Google Places listing and your Google profile. So in the upper right hand corner here, this purple arrow points to the maps, and this is what shows up when they're doing local map listings. Google knows that your computer has an IP address, and they know generally, unless you're masking it or hiding it, they know what city you're in down to your IP location from your computer at home. So they're going to know that you're in Dubuque searching for an acupuncturist in Dubuque. Their goal is to serve up the results that are most relevant to someone seeking for those services in Dubuque. And so they're going to provide this local map and the local places of the businesses that most closely resemble the keyword search in the city where you're searching, in addition to where the businesses are located. So you don't necessarily have to put in NYC or the local city. Google knows that you're in that city as a search phrase, and they're going to serve up the results that are in your area dynamically. So it's really important that as a business, you understand how to get your listing in the local places, how to focus on the right keywords, and how to show up in these results. Now, in this case, because of the ads and the organic listings, it wasn't in the first page that I could screen here. So the local places are actually showing on the next slide, which is what I'm going to go to here. So here you have all of the top Google Places listings for this particular client, which is actually Glassman Dental Care in Manhattan. They're in Upper West Side in New York. And you can see that we've gotten them listed at number 7 in the Google Places. So Dental Care NYC, again, 12 million pages of content, hyper competitive, super technically complex to do this, but we're laying it all out here for you so you see all of the elements that we're doing in order to achieve that ranking for them. And then obviously when you're ranked here, the idea is more search visitors are going to see your website, more of them are going to click through, your traffic will increase, and the probability of them contacting you either through submitting a contact form on the website or by calling your office is increased because you're going to have more people viewing your website. Now I'm going to talk real quickly about on-page optimization. It's very important for the website to be SEO optimized. There are a number of free tools that you can go to Google and do SEO audit tools or SEO analysis tools or free SEO analysis, and you can do an assessment of your own website. And it'll come up with, you know, broken links, it'll identify HTML errors, it'll do a number of things, but bottom line is there are things that need to be done to the code base of your website in order for it to be ranked just on a level playing field. So I'm going to take just a minute and come out here and talk about, let's go back to New Teeth one day. When you visit a website, you're going to see what's called the cosmetic look and feel. You're going to see that user experience. These are the human factors of the visual experience that you see on the website. It's the color palette, it's the logo, it's the navigation structure, it's, you know, how the website moves and what the graphical elements are, whether there's video or not, you know, what happens when you mouse over things, what kind of animations does it have, all that kind of information. Well, that's the creative aspects. This is the design elements. These are the human factors that impact whether people like what they see, right? So this is a subjective experience that's tied to people's emotions, to the psychology of engaging a user. That's all well and good, and you want to address all of those issues, but there's also another component to it called the information architecture. It's the software, it's the technology, it's the underlying bits and bytes that actually make the page look this way. So what we're talking about here, if you right-click on any website page, and there'll be a pop-up menu, and you can go to View Page Source. If you click on that, it'll actually show you what's called the raw HTML. And so this is an HTML document. This is actually the software language that describes how the software programmer has instructed the browser to display the website. So this is the HTML code. You can see, you know, all kinds of scripts and links and software programming languages that describe how this page is displayed for the user. Now, an average consumer is never going to see this HTML, but you as a business owner need to understand. You don't necessarily need to be an HTML programmer, but there are certain concepts in the HTML that you need to understand. Some of those are meta tags. If you haven't heard about meta tags before, you need to research and understand meta tags. Meta tags are basically the software instructions inside HTML that instruct the page or instructs the Google search engine spider to do certain things. So this is the title meta tag. And so it has title in open brackets, and it has title at the end with a slash, which means that's the end of this particular command. So everything in between that title is the actual title that you'll see on the page. So when you go back to this page, the title that's at the top of this header bar, you can now see the pop-up, the mouse over, is exactly what was described in the source code on this page. So this is actually what instructs the browser to display that content. Now, the one that you've probably heard about is the keywords. So this is the keyword meta tag, and it begins with, you know, new teeth and the other keywords that are important. You can analyze your website and go in and look at, do I have meta tags in my website, and are they correctly constructed? Does every keyword separated by a comma? And do I have the right number of keywords? Do I have too many characters? There's a whole bunch of rules around how to correctly structure your meta tag keywords, as well as your description. So description is this very thing is what the search engines use to display the description. So if you leave the description out and you don't have it optimized, then Google's going to spider something else on the page and display something that you haven't chosen that doesn't help the users understand who you are or why they should click on your website. A couple of other things. If you don't know about geotags, these are three really important things that you're going to want to know about on your meta tags. This one is ICBM, which is basically the geotag that relates to latitude and longitude. This is how Google knows where your business is located. So the fact that this is in New Jersey as a region and place name, so it's New Jersey City in the state of New Jersey, and this is the latitude and longitude of this office location. So this is just a simple example of the underlying information architecture that's required just to have your website be on a level playing field with all other competitors. If you don't have these things correctly constructed, you're going to be at a disadvantage when it comes to competing and being ranked optimally for your different keywords. Okay, so I'm going to jump back here. So that's part of the on-page, the on-site factors that need to be addressed. The detail of that is you need a lot of keyword-rich content. It has to be keyword optimized. We've talked about the meta tags for pages, and this is a regular SEO maintenance activity. You should be adding new pages to your website every week, at least one page a week, preferably one every week, every month. Because part of the algorithms now look at activity, they look at consistency, they looked at repeatable. So all of those kind of dynamics are calculated into your search engine ranking. Now let's talk for a minute about keyword selection. There are different types of keywords. Root keywords are typically one-word descriptions like acupuncture. Okay? Acupuncture is a root keyword. STEM keywords would be multiple variations of that. So it could be Chinese acupuncture. It could be acupuncture pain. Okay, it could be two words, maybe three, but typically two words that relate to the root keyword in some combination. Then there are keyword phrases like Chinese acupuncture in San Diego. And then in addition to the keyword phrases, there are what are called short tail phrases like the one that I just gave you. And then there are long tail keyword phrases, which is Chinese acupuncture in San Diego by Patricia Blake from AcuHeart. Okay, that's a long tail keyword. Now, the probability of somebody actually typing in that kind of long tail keyword, it's going to absolutely match to that business, but not many people searching are going to actually use that long tail keyword. But there are instances where people will use a fairly descriptive phrase or maybe even a sentence that becomes a long tail keyword phrase that they're actually searching for that. And there are ways to find that out. And so if it's a very specific service, a very specific solution that you're providing for an exact problem that takes a bit of a definition, if you're constructing your content to answer that and match to that, you're going to have a very good chance of connecting with a user who selects that long tail keyword phrase. So when you're talking about keywords, it is absolutely foundational to everything that you do. So it's really important that you build a knowledge around keywords, understand the differences in terms of root versus stem versus short tail and long tail, and then matching that with your target audience and how are they describing what their particular pain points are. Now, off-page optimization is what do you do what kind of things happen outside of the actual website. So this is things like articles out in search engine directories, links from other sites that link back to you that are optimized for your particular keywords from other sites. So as an example, it could be a vendor of supplies for needles, and on their site they give your website as a reference for, acupuncturist who uses our needles in Del Mar. That's the kind of off-site linking that we're talking about when it comes to off-page optimization. It's building a network that can create high-value links from other places that Google gives you credit for. Now, there's a bunch of things that you can do with off-page activities, and here's a list that we're going to go through of things that you can learn more about. Directory submission, I did reference. Article submissions, where you actually write articles as a guest for other sites, and you become a subject matter expert, getting them to credit you as the author and giving you a link to your website. Social bookmarking, social media interaction, we're going to talk about that in a little bit more detail. Classifieds you can do, search engine submissions we talked about. There are a lot of free press release sites that you can do it yourself. There are forum posts, blog commenting, links from other blogs, link exchange, Yahoo Answers. You can go into Yahoo Answers, and people that are posting questions about acupuncture, you can go in there and become an expert and provide answers. They'll give you credit for it and give you a link back to your website. So there's just a lot of things that you can do in terms of off-page activities. And if you don't know about any one of these particular areas, again, video promotion is huge. If you don't have a YouTube channel, you definitely want to get one. You definitely want to figure out how to optimize that for your business. So all of those activities, both on and off page, are going to lead you to top 10 ranking. And if you follow these things and you do this religiously, you can expect to get in top 10 ranking, because if you're diligent and you do this, the majority of competitors do not do this. So either you or your vendor that you choose, if you implement this religiously, you can expect to achieve these results. Now, it's not going to be overnight. Typically, we see these kind of changes in 3 to 4 months. But certainly within 6 months, if you apply these principles, you can expect to see very positive results. Now, obviously, the trending, the results are going to be, the motivation is, you're going to see your visitors increase in count. So every day that you invest in this, the visitors are going to increase, because it's going to, your keyword listings are going to increase, the traffic to your website is going to increase, the prospective patients that are going to contact you should follow in that order. Now, the idea that I want to kind of wrap up with here, and I know we're getting right to the hour, is really kind of making sense out of social media. You have to find tools that can help you automate what can be an almost Herculean effort to manage all this if you try and think about doing it manually. Now, when I hire new interns to work for us, one of the things that we put them through is we say, look, in your own name, I want you to go out to the top 100 social media sites. And this page right here lists 70. It's 7 deep, 10 deep, 7 across. And so that's just 70. And so I just say, okay, pick these 70, and you probably recognize a good portion of these. Google and Yahoo and YouTube and Dailymotion and Craigslist and LinkedIn and Facebook and Twitter. You're probably familiar with all of those. So we have our interns sign up for an account on each one of these. They manually have to go create a username and password, set up their profile, add their picture, and start adding content to it. Now, you think about doing that 100 times, that's a monumentally time-consuming challenge. And there are a lot of organizations out there that have done exactly that, is hire interns as their social media coordinators to do nothing but manage all of their accounts. Now, in a lot of cases, they manually decide to limit it to maybe the top 5 or the top 7. And so they're only going to focus on Facebook and Twitter as an example. Some have chosen to do that. The idea is, if you're going to do anything in social media, you have to have a strategy behind it, and you have to have a process and a methodology to execute on that strategy. So we want to suggest that there are tools and automated tools that you can find out there that will help you take content that you write, publish it efficiently out to all of these sites, and allow that content to get to all of these sites in a way that you could never do if you had to do it one by one by one. So there are tools out there that you can find that will allow you to write that content once and publish it globally to hundreds of social media sites. And that allows it to be a lot more effective and a lot more efficient, and it gets you distribution that you just couldn't get if you did it manually. I'm going to touch real quickly on one campaign that we did with Facebook for AcuHeart, and just show you that things are evolving really fast. And the graphic that I showed you from Google Analytics, let me go out here real quick. So if you remember this analytic here, this bump in terms of AcuHeart was related to this specific campaign that I'm showing you here on Facebook. So it was this graphic on a post where we used a specific function inside of Facebook ads called the Power Editor to be able to create this graphic and this call to action, and then post this in the timeline so that it comes across as a natural timeline posting, not as an ad. And you can see we had 3,221 people were reached. In other words, the impressions. And you can see that there was a total of 37 actions, 25 website clicks. And this was what accounted for this spike in traffic, which was 2 days before a Wednesday night seminar that was listed in this ad. So there was a call to action, there was a color graphics, there was a description, and the click-through went to the landing page. So understanding what's going on with Facebook, understanding how to maximize the deep use of the resources to target your local audience with Facebook is a very powerful tool. And this is just a quick example of the kind of thing that you want to learn more about in terms of Facebook advertising. So at the end of the day, everything that we talk about is return on investment. Whether you do it with your own time, you have an imputed value of the hour that you're spending doing any activity. Is your time better spent doing a treatment on a patient? Do you generate more revenue that way? Or can you generate more patients by spending an hour doing investing in marketing? Our belief is that if you look at a qualified outsourcer, you can probably make more money by staying focused on doing patient procedures. But that's certainly a call that you can evaluate that. But at the end of the day, we want you making money off of your marketing investment, which means it has to result in driving new patients. So there's a lot of information in here that we've covered today. There's a variety of things that we've done, but I'm going to recap that here real quickly before we close, is that you really need to define your own comprehensive digital marketing plan. And that plan should include having a keyword strategy, a keyword assessment with a local city priority. You need to understand whether your website is SEO compliant. You need to have an SEO and an SMO strategy. You need to have an email marketing plan because that will be the basis of your lead nurturing and how you communicate with prospects. You should also seriously consider a mobile media optimization plan, which is dealing specifically with the rapidly emerging and evolving mobile community. Your online reputation in terms of sites like Yelp and other commenting, reviews, and testimonial sites is extremely important. I've seen businesses fail because of negative reviews on Yelp. So if you don't know what your reputation is out there, you need to understand how to do that. Local marketing, everything in search engine is going local. So understanding how to maximize through the Google suite of tools that I explained to you, you have to focus on local marketing within probably inside 60-mile radius of your geographic proximity, because that's how Google's serving information up. And also, lastly, it doesn't give you the same kind of return, but you need to look at the paid ad placement strategy, whether it's pay-per-click on Facebook or Google, or other community sites or virtual billboards. There is a time and a place to deal with pay-per-click. Again, all of that's about driving new patient leads to the top of your funnel. And really, it's, there's a lot of information that we've given you here today. And again, this is going to be a video archive, so we'll send you out the link that you can watch this later. And again, the encouragement is that by following SEO quality practices, you can see rapid growth in your branding and an increase in your visitors. And that's going to translate into top-line revenue for your practice. So I want to thank you for listening to the seminar today. I want to give you best wishes for online success. And as a closing gift, because you were brought here by Jamie today, we're going to offer you free access to some reports that we've generated. Again, these are no cost, no obligation. You're not going to be pitched anything. But if you go to this URL, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to post this in the chat session. So while I'm doing, let me go up here. So Jamie, I'm going to pause for a second and let you take the floor and see if there's any questions or...
Okay. Are you going to go over, like, what if people don't want to do DIY all this because it's like so much. It's almost like a full-time job. It sounds like to like be on top of this, especially if you're in a larger city.
Yeah. So again, my goal was to share information and, not necessarily overwhelm or, scare the heck out of anybody. But it is a daunting task. So you do need to make a decision whether you're going to do it yourself and what level of involvement you can afford to take. Now, I've talked with, full-time dentists who are spending 4 hours a day doing Facebook. The problem with that is that I haven't been able to see them economically justify that kind of involvement, right? I mean, they're very involved with their patients and they're commenting on everything, every post that happens, but I haven't seen them be able to monetize that into anything that makes sense as to why they're doing that. So it needs to be gauged with, is this activity from a marketing standpoint delivering the results that we need? And if you can do it yourself and justify that that activity is generating new patient prospects, man, more power to you. And every business owner should have some component of this that they at least understand. So even if you hire a social media intern, or if you hire an SEO consultant, or you hire a webmaster to do all of this for you, or if you hire an SEO consultant to do this for you, you need to understand at least the basics. And so that's part of what this educational seminar was. Now, if you don't want to do it yourself, then you have to make the decision, okay, how do I find and evaluate the vendor? Number one thing that we talked about was you got to be able to have that vendor show you the results, give you real client examples that you can verify yourself and that you can talk with. Any one of you could call Patricia Blake from the website at AccuHeart today and verify whether what I've told you is true or not. And so that's the number one way that you're going to be able to select vendors, is to get references and to verify the information that they provide for client examples. And then it's building a trust relationship and developing that level of confidence to say, look, if I need acupuncture service, I'm going to research the providers. I'm going to go to and end up going to Patricia. And I have to trust at the end of the day, I can learn a lot about it on Google, and I can learn a lot about what an acupuncturist should do theoretically, but am I really going to do self-acupuncture treatments? Probably not, because I'm not going to have the experience and the real world training to know how to do it all. I could understand it theoretically and I could agree with the treatment that she recommends, but am I actually going to go do it myself? Probably not. So in that case, then I have to learn how to evaluate the service provider, make sure that I agree with the treatment that's being proposed, and then just have enough sense to gauge, am I getting the results? And if I am, then I'm going to continue doing it. And that's really the same thing for a vendor, is building trust, understanding what they're proposing, being an educated consumer so that you're not being taken advantage of, and understanding the value proposition. Because you could spend $3,000 a month super easy on a college graduate coming in on a full-time basis to be your social media intern. Well, is that the best use of $3,000 worth of your marketing investment? Well, we can show you some other alternatives. So again, I promised that I wasn't going to pitch on this. If there are folks that are interested in talking with us about having us help them, happy to do that in a separate conversation. So you can, again, this website that I've put up here, which is WorldClass-free-report.viprespond.com. You fill out this information on here and you'll be automatically able to access what I listed here, which is the mobile marketing report, the pay-per-click report, reputation management, SEO report, social media, video marketing report, which goes into more of the details of everything that I've covered in this short hour that we've had to go over. So if you want more, detailed information around do-it-yourself, just go to this website. I've put that in the chat session. So you should be able to, in the chat session, go directly to that link, and you can just click on the link and it'll take you right to that URL. Okay?
All right.
So Jamie, any other questions?
Are you going to answer the phone?
Of course, that happens right at the closing, right? So sorry about that.
It's okay.
All right. Well, I really appreciate everybody's participation here today. I totally respect the time that you've invested. And Jamie, I want to thank you for personally inviting the folks who have attended. And we'll send out the link afterwards to send it out to those who might not have been able to make it to today's presentation. But again, I want to thank everybody. And unless you have any questions, I think we'll close it out here, Jamie.
All right. Thanks.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.